please welcome Sarah Kahn with her keynote speech titled Make Your Mark. Make Your Mark, Sarah Kahn.
Well, hello there, fellow Toastmasters, guests, dignitaries, the moderately important people, and Glenn Thornton. I'm sure I covered everyone here, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, Happy New Year, guys!
Happy New Year!
Tell me, what is the most common thing we do on the 1st of January? Anybody? Resolutions. Okay. I was thinking a hangover. No, you're right. So we all have goals that we wish to accomplish, isn't it?
Yes.
Right? Well, would you like to know what my goal is?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. My goal for 2016 is to accomplish my goals of 2015, which I should have done in 2014, because I promised myself in 2012, and I planned them in 2010. So here is my resolutions list from 2010, 2016. So let's see what it says, okay? Lose 7 pounds. Now let's make that 10. Convince kids to make their bed. Cut back on Facebook.
Not gonna happen for you. Yeah, you failed on that one.
I know. But isn't it true that, have you ever felt like your New Year's resolutions list starts to appear the same year after year? Right? After a while, those goals don't even feel like real goals anymore. More like a list of chores that we put down again and again and again. Oh, look, here's another one. I totally forgot about this one. And this one's actually circled, so it must be. Win the World Championship of Public Speaking. All you judges, take note. But there's actually a really interesting story behind this. I actually set this goal back in 2012 after I came back from Florida, placing 3rd in the international semifinals for the World Championship. And the funny thing is that, people think that after you have won at district or at a higher level, that feeling of achievement is lasting. That's not true. It actually creates a lot of emptiness inside. And the reason is that once you have tasted success and the immense happiness that comes from it, you crave more, isn't it? And that feeling of achievement can become so intoxicating sometimes that your original desire to want to share your message and change lives can very easily turn into an obsession just to get back there. So yes, I have been in that situation. When a goal that I set for myself in 2012, and I promised myself that I'll achieve by 2013, just kept showing up in my resolutions list again and again and again, until it started to feel like a chore. Now, speaking of goals, let's see what the goals for a Toastmasters officer will look like, okay? Achieve a President's Distinguished Club, right? Become a DTM, right? Lose 10 pounds. No, I'm kidding. Clearly it's 20 for some. I can sense the love from the officers right now. But once I have achieved all of this, I'm going to feel happier. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel successful, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with setting goals. Goals are extremely useful because they keep us on track. They help us move in a positive direction. But unless there's a strong driving force behind those goals can very easily start to feel like chores. Because our goals don't answer the question, why am I even doing this? Now, to answer that question, we need to truly know what matters to us. And to know what matters, we need to dig deep and deep and reach into our values. So what are values? Well, values are the driving force that give our life a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose. Values are the driving force behind our goals that answer the question, why am I even doing this? So our values are the principles that guide us through life. Now, unlike goals that are future-oriented, at any given moment we can choose to act on our values. Let me give you an example. Now, if getting married is a goal, once I have achieved that goal, I can cross it out of my list, right? I'm done, I'm married, right? But being loving, being caring, being supportive, being friendly, all of those are values. Because that's how I wish to behave in my relationship on an ongoing basis. Now, that is not something I can cross out of my list, right? Like, I can't go one day to my husband and say, honey, I'm done being loving and caring. Now, this is going to be mean. No, right? Come on, guys, say no. How do you guys treat your spouses? No, right?
No.
Oh, I could. You know, like my husband always complains. Sarah, you were so loving the first year of marriage. What happened? I'm kidding. It was just the first week. So values are our heart's deepest desires about how we want to behave in life on an ongoing basis. So to know what matters, we have to know our values. So that brings me to my next point. Then how do you identify your values? Well, let's see. Who here would like to be rich like me? Raise your hand. How about sexy like me?
I already am.
Excellent. Okay, guys. Great. Thank you. None of those are values. I was just trying to get a head count of how many were finding rich and sexy.
Nice.
But if I were to ask you if you wanted to be passionate and intriguing and innovative and trustworthy, and if you say to me, oh, Sarah, those are great values, I'd say great, but what are your values? What are you? Really? So to identify our values, all we need to do is ask ourselves, what kind of qualities do I want to stand for? Now remember, a value is not an outcome. A value is an ongoing behavior that you're engaged in order to find that deeper, richer sense of fulfillment in your life. Now we have a lot of day-to-day stresses, right? Like meeting job deadlines, taking kids to soccer every day, or trying to get our members to bring the competent leadership manuals to me. But those are all goals, because they're all tasks that you can cross out of your list after you've accomplished them, right? They aren't ongoing behavioral qualities that you're engaged in. So they're not your values. Because just imagine that you're at a funeral, at your own funeral actually, okay? Imagine you're at your own funeral and all of your Toastmasters friends are going to be attending it. And some of them are going to give a eulogy at your funeral. Now, what would you like them to say in a eulogy? For example, would I like them to say something like, here lies our beloved Sarah Khan. She leaves behind her DTM, which she achieved in order for our club to become President's Distinguished 5 years in a row. No, right? I can see some of you officers going, yeah. Or would I like to hear something like, here lies our beloved Sarah Khan. She embodied all of the qualities of a true Toastmaster. Now, throughout her life, she exuded integrity, and she was so passionate and friendly and engaging. All of those were her values, because that is how she behaved on an ongoing basis in life. Those are the qualities that she stood for. You know, when I speak to people, helping them clarifying their values. Oftentimes I notice they get their goals and their values mixed up. And it's very easy to do that. So I want you to remember this one thing. A goal is specific, whereas a value is what gives your goals a purpose. For example, when many of my friends come to me and they say to me, "Oh, Sarah, I really want to lose 10 pounds. I want to be skinny." I say to them, "Oh, okay. So what you're trying to say is that you want to live healthy, right? Because losing 10 pounds is a goal. Leading a healthy lifestyle is a value." Now, while our goals can be emotional, our value can never be emotional. For example, every now and then, when I have a new Toastmaster mentee come to me and say, "Sarah, I want to feel more confident. I want to feel happier." Those are emotional goals. Those are not values. And the thing with emotional goals is that very often they can be unrealistic goals. Tell me something, Toastmasters members and officers and leaders over here. Has there ever been a time in your life, in Toastmasters, where you have said to yourself, "You know, I never want to lose my cool. I never want to feel nervous again"? Those are what we call dead person's goals. Because only once you are dead, you can achieve those goals. Unless, of course, you're Glenn Thornton. I'm not kidding, guys. In my 4 years in Toastmasters, I've never, ever seen him get angry or get upset. Never. Which really always makes me wonder, what is this guy's secret? I mean, is it cocaine? Well, it is legal in California. Have you been sniffing and puffing lately, Greg?
I prefer meth.
Thank you, Glenn. So now that we have a clear distinction between Glenn Thornton and the rest of the world, I mean between values and goals, I want to ask you guys a question. As Toastmasters, what kind of qualities do you want to bring to the table? I repeat, as Toastmasters, what qualities would you like to bring to the table? Anyone?
Integrity.
Excellent. One more person.
Respectation.
Respect. Excellent.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Excellent. Thank you.
Sexuality.
Sexuality. Okay. Okay, thank you everybody except Glenn Thornton.
He's still working on that.
He's still working on his values, yes. You know, I've spoken to a lot of competition speakers, and every now and then I have competition speakers come up to me and say, "You know, Sarah, I really want to feel loved and respected by my audience. I want to win their approval." So I say to them, "That's great, but what do you stand for?" You know, a value is not about how you'd like others to behave. It's about how you'd like to behave. So if it requires a condition, then you don't really have a value you stand on or stand for. You know, I've done a lot of competition speaking, as you all know. And as I mentioned, my goal to win the World Championship of Public Speaking eventually started to feel like a chore. You know, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And my Toastmasters friends began to notice that vacuum around me. Now, in that vacuum, I reached out to my mentor, Andrew Chu. I don't know if he's here today. But you see that dashing debonair sitting right there?
Who, me?
Yeah, right there. Andrew Chu, they brought me. Here is Andrew. But anyway, when I went up to him, that day he sat me down and he said to me, "Sarah, why do you want to win this title so bad? What are you going to do after you win it? How are you going to behave differently?" Seems like pretty easy questions, right? Well, I said, nothing. Those were the toughest table topic questions I've ever been asked. But luckily, Andrew gave me more than 1 to 2 minutes to answer. So after pondering for a few minutes, I said to him, "You know, Andrew, I really want to be able to reach out to a large audience and share my message of love and peace and unity. I want to change the world, Andrew. I want to change lives. I want to make my mark." And then Andrew said to me, Sarah, all of those speak to your values, coexistence, connection, wisdom. Sarah, I don't know if you know this, but when you and I first met, you spoke like quite a hip chick. I guess. Now, Andrew was right. What had happened to me? Really? And then Andrew said something very profound to me. He said, Sarah, why are you waiting for a title to start living by your values? Now, a title is going to give you happiness for sure. But when we shall start chasing after happiness, we're also moving further and further away from our deepest values. Now look around you, Sarah. Look in the world, look in the communities around you. There's so many challenges everywhere. So I'd say that while you are still striving towards that goal of winning the championship someday, there is so much you can do right now if you start living by your values. And when you do, you're going to see how fulfilling your life is going to feel. Wow. That sounded just like Andrew too. Except for he doesn't have the sexy voice and accent. But it's so easy to lose our values when we are pursuing our goals, isn't it? I mean, that happened to me. My journey with the World Championship taught me that. Which brings me to my next question. And how do you live by your values while still striving towards your goals? Well, this is what I did. I started seeking out opportunities outside of Toastmasters where I could put my values into use. And trust me, guys, there are opportunities everywhere. But just like hidden treasures, you have to find them. So my messages of love and peace and unity fit beautifully as an interfaith speaker, promoting diversity and religious pluralism, and at the same time speaking out against racism and bigotry and prejudice against any group. So I did that in a TV interview, at a middle school, at an elementary school, at a synagogue, at a church. And in 2 weeks, I'll be doing it in front of 400 Jewish high school students.
Nice.
Now, what I also did is I contributed to Heidi Lee's Sexy with No Boundaries, right? I'm sure some of you know that. And basically, I was able to share my definition of sexy as a Muslim woman who covers herself from head to toe, which is the privatization of a woman's sexuality rather than the presentation. Because I believe, not as a woman, not as a Muslim woman, just as a woman, I believe that as a woman I deserve to be intellectualized and personalized rather than just be sexualized. Thank you. Thank you. And I also did Andrew Chu's improv courses, and I did Jerry Coney's stand-up comedy class. And I have to tell you, when I was going through those classes, the humor there is not exactly rated R, it's more like rated MA or beyond. And it was a bit of a cultural shock for me being in those classes. As you all know, I am a very PG sort of a person. Yeah, I hear that. I can see some of my improv guys going, yeah, right. I know. Zip it up, guys. What happens in improv stays in improv. But it was a bit of a cultural shock, but having such mentors as Andrew and Jerry Coley, they really helped me stay true to who I am, and at the same time, practice my value of coexistence. So I was able to gain as much and learn as much out of those courses so I could bring that skill set back to my community. So that's how I've been living by my values. Now, Toastmasters' values are called RISE, which is R stands for respect, integrity. S, I want to say stupidity. Yes. I'm afraid I'll be kicked out by the district producers, the district directors.
Watch out.
Well, are they called screenwriters now? I'm in trouble. Service. E, excellence. Now, as far as respect, I think as Toastmasters, we do a really good job when it comes to respecting one another, isn't it? right? For example, if a speaker goes way over time in their speech, we are respectful enough not to boo the speaker off the stage, right? Right? I hope nobody's throwing tomatoes and stilettos at the speaker. If you are, don't. Stilettos are expensive. But integrity, let's see integrity. I think we do a great job when it comes to respect, but integrity, maybe every now and then we might lack. And the reason I say that is that if you come late to meetings, if you bail out on your assignments, then you're not really keeping your word, are you? And that not only affects the club, it also affects your development. Now, as far as service, we should all ask ourselves, are we really serving as Toastmasters? You know, I've been part of a lot of clubs where everybody is working towards serving and supporting one another. And those clubs really shine. And at the same time, I've also been to clubs where the members are just being rushed to finish off their manuals so they can get their educational goals, reach their goals. And the members don't even land up learning that much. Not just that, sometimes they feel so pressured that they leave. So their needs are not being served. Now, excellence. As far as excellence, it could be something as simple as giving your best in your speeches. What does that mean? Well, how often have you seen members who are rushing through their manuals, but they're not really paying attention to the manual objectives? They're not following their objectives. How often have you come across members who come to meetings to give a speech, but they're unprepared, and they just wing their speeches? So their goals are not aligned with excellence, right? Now, at the same time, I've actually seen contest speakers, actually district champions, who only have a CC or an ACB, but they have really worked on their craft, and they have not wasted a single manual opportunity. And every designation of theirs reflects their excellence. So that's what Toastmasters' values are all about. Now, in life, we can't guarantee whether we'll be able to achieve all of our goals within our desired time frame. We can't. But if we live by our values, we can always find fulfillment in our lives. So remember, guys, no matter how much life tosses us with waves of adversity and affliction, it is our values that hold us steady, just like an anchor in the storm. So to know what matters, you have to know your values, and you have to start living by your values right now. Now, of course, this comes with a warning sign. You know, when you start integrating RISE into your Toastmasters leadership, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbow. You are going to come across a lot of storms initially. You know, when I started living by my values, I had to come in contact with a lot of discomfort initially. And I remember going to my friend who's a therapist, and at that time, she reminded me of a quote by Dr. Kelly Wilson, who is the co-founder of Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, something I studied. And he says that values and vulnerabilities are poured out of the same vessel. Our values and vulnerabilities are poured out of the same vessel. That means they go hand in hand. So even though initially I really wanted to avoid all of that discomfort, I eventually realized that the more I avoided, the more I became imprisoned by my emotions. So my dear members and officers and leaders here, there are going to be times where you are going to feel vulnerable, and you're going to feel angry, and you're going to be upset and mad, and could be because of the conduct of a fellow member or an officer or what have you. But you're always going to have a choice, whether you want to avoid the problem or you want to act upon your value. And that choice will always be there. Just like we have such choices every single day in our lives. Now, before I go, I want to leave you with an observation about Toastmasters. Now, I've been a member of Toastmasters for 4 years now. And in those years, I've visited plenty of Toastmasters clubs, and I've heard some incredibly moving speeches. And I've spoken to a lot of Toastmasters members personally. And I've come to realize that we all want the same thing. We all desire success, recognition, and happiness. And sometimes we want these rewards so bad that we spend our entire lives chasing after success, recognition, and happiness. But the thing is, the more you chase after something, you're also running away from something. Now, I believe that there are so many of us here today who are running away from who we are truly meant to be. You know, after I stepped out of the contest circuit, I chose to reclaim me. So instead of success, I found significance. Instead of being happy, I started living passionately. Instead of being successful, an authentic lifestyle showed up for me. Just like a clearing in the forest. Or those 6-inch heels at Nordstrom that glow and say, "This is Sarah." So I chose to make my mark. And I believe that that choice has brought me and you here today. So if you start identifying your values, and if you start aligning your goals with your values, and if you start pursuing your vulnerabilities, then I know that you too will make your mark. Thank you. Thank you.